Hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Hans Kamau, and this is the Casual Collective. So, what is the Casual Collective? The Casual Collective is a space where the word, sports, media, entertainment, anything intersect in very beautiful and exciting ways. And I find interesting. I want to be as expansive. I just want to allow the word to dictate everything on this channel. I want to look at topics that you wouldn't relate to the word and relate it to the word and do the other things that need to be done because I do not know. Going next. We just come together and just like enjoy the word, and I want to just pause. One thing I used to do a lot before is, a big reason why I stopped this channel too is because I was like, man, this is not very Christian of me. If I were to make media, sports, videos about sports, I'd rather read the Bible on camera for 30 minutes than to actually talk about sports. But then I realized, or I'm learning rather, that what am I learning? That I don't want to put my relationship with God in a box. If I do that, if I allow this space, if I allow certain sections to develop and tell me like this time when I'm watching sports I don't need the word. If I'm looking this, I'm watching this, I don't need the word. Then that's not a relationship. That's not a relationship. That's not there's so many beautiful ways that God can communicate to us through the world. Literally the world, the earth. The earth speaks to His majesty and His beauty, and that is us too as well. Because like through our testimonies, through our like trials, through our strengths, through our victories, we all do this amazing thing where we literally like come together and we are living testimonies basically. And our media should be an extension of that. And so I just want to work in a way that if I can just look at a story, I want to see Jesus. So like, where does Jesus pop up in this? Where does Jesus show up in the title video? Where does Jesus show up in Bryce Young's situation? Where does Jesus show up in the Carolina Panthers? Where does Jesus show up in the story of Gideon? Where does Jesus show up? That is basically where we're trying to get with the Casual Collective, and I hope that this video just highlights that vision of what I want this space to be, and just helps me to grow closer to God too, through different spaces as well. Yeah, that's all. That's literally it. Yeah, that's it. Wait, not wait, but. So we're gonna get into the topic now. We're gonna get into the topic. And the topic is, boom, cue it. Cue the music. Heartbreak. I think I'm addicted to the heartbreak. So, 3 weeks ago, the Carolina Panthers benched Bryce Young, the man who was brought in to save this franchise from this horrible, horrible streak of just terribleness. Terrible QBs, terrible teams, terrible everything. This is a man who was brought in to put the Carolina Panthers back on the map and hopefully just bring it back to some form of relevancy for at least the next 10 years. And one of the biggest factors in all of this and why it's such a horrible situation is because of what the Carolina Panthers gave up to for him. This was how many draft picks? 5 draft picks, 2024 first round pick, 25 second round pick, DJ Moore, and a couple of other things that for a man who was brought in as one of the most touted prospects from college. And one of the sad parts about the situation is what happened? That's literally the biggest question. What happened? What happened to this QB who, coming into it, was literally viewed as a surefire hit? He's a Heisman Trophy winner. Someone who was able to make any throw that you want. Someone whose IQ was seen as so high that it was going to make up for his physical deficiencies. And one of the biggest reasons why I feel like we all fell for him was because of, we've seen this before. We've seen smaller sized QBs. We've seen the 5'10 Russell Wilson. We've seen the 5'10, 5'11 Kyler Murray do so much well because they have one skill, they have one aspect of their physical abilities that literally is just better than everyone by a literal mile. And for Bryce Young, it was his IQ. And so when you look at this situation, you're left with a lot of questions. Why? Like, why did this happen? Why is this happening? And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to delve into this topic. It's just like it's a very interesting topic when you look at young QBs coming into the league and not necessarily making it. So I just wanted to get into that. And one of the biggest reasons for me to get into it is because of the Carolina Panthers. I want to start off with this stat. In 2023, Bryce Young was the second most sacked quarterback in the league. And sacks they are a function of, yo, this is a young QB. This is someone who's still learning how defensive coverages work. This is someone who's still learning how professional football works. But for me, and he deserves his responsibility in that. But a big part that I want to focus on as well is the fact that sacks are also a front office issue. As for a front office which has a young quarterback who's coming into the league for the first time, for you to have someone being sacked, it's the second most in the league, highlights the fact that you did not plan your roster properly, that you have left your O-line, you have left simple things like your a running back or those different things that are literally supplements, that are literally bread and butter, that are your best friend as a rookie QB. And basically just leaving them hanging. Obviously, what's going to happen is you're going to find out second, so you're going to be sacked the most in the league, close to the most in the league, right? And one thing that when you start looking at the front office, since David Tepper came in and bought the franchise for what, 2 point something billion or even more than that, this is a franchise that has seen change happen almost constantly. This is a franchise which has seen 3 head coaches, four general managers being changed. If literally there's no sense of stability, there's no sense of continuity happening in this franchise. And so it just, all of this just trickles down because there's so many different ideas, there's so many different visions for what this team should be, what this team should look like, so many different players and systems that are in place that is just literally, it's hard to build. And so when we look at this, when I look at the fact that he was sacked the second most time in the league, I look at that and I view that more for me, and especially in this case of the Carolina Panthers, more on the front office than anything. And another thing that I want to look at is also just a side note as well, is the fact that this story of Bryce Young is a story that has been seen, that has been told for many times, many a times. We've seen this when Sam Dunn, who's now killing it with the Vikings, who was the first overall draft pick by the Jets, terrible, traded off to the Carolina Panthers. Started off well, then went bad. Traded away. Baker Mayfield gone to the Browns, had a few good years, had a few bad years, had average years. Traded away. Now is killing it and then traveled around the league and then ended up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and thriving. And I think that this is something which is, there's a story here. There's something which I feel like there is so much more than there's so much more that the eye can see here. And I feel like this is a story which links so much, and this is where I viewed the story of Gideon as well, with how it links into this.
So God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, so that the world through him might be saved.
Wherever you're using, I would love us to just turn to Judges 6 verses 12. If you're there, quick, we can just get to there. But in the meantime, I'll just give you guys some context. So we're with the people of Israel, and at this time they're being oppressed by this group of people called the Midianites. And the Midianites particularly are one of the most oppressive people, and we see that because just how the Bible describes like what they were doing, and in terms of their size and in terms of their numbers, they say like there's many as the grasshoppers, and when they come, they shut everything down. Basically, they oppress the people of Israel. If they try to build, if they try to grow crops, they try to do anything, it's gotten literally to a point where so many of them have fled and are hiding in mountains and spaces and caves and all of these things. And so that's basically the environment. It's like this space of like fear and like oppression and just like so much turmoil happening, at this time. And another thing I also want to point out is that there's also a lack of hope. It's been years since people of Israel are crying to the Lord, and people of Israel are praying, but they're not receiving that, that protection, that the ability of God to save them. And so there's also that in the airways, there's a twinge of like hopelessness too as well. So that's where we find our character today. And so get in verse 12, right? We're going to read it first. We're going to read through it. I'm reading through from what? This is ESV version, and then we're just going to break it down from there. So we're going to start off by reading, then go from there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Heritage Baptist Church, for this Bible. Thank you very much for that. Really, really appreciate it. So, it says, verse 12, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, the Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor. And Gideon said to him, please, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonderful deeds that our fathers recounted to us, saying, did not the Lord bring us out from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and given us into the hand of Midian. And the Lord turned to him and said, go in this might of yours and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Do not I send you? And he said to him, please, Lord, how can I save Israel? Behold, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the Lord said to him, but I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man. That's verse. That's from what, 12 to 16. Love that verse. So I want to just pick up when I looked at this story and how it kind of correlates to, looking at Bryce Young, but also like different quarterbacks who have had to change coaches, who had to change environments. One of the things that kind of like made me fall in love with the story a bit more is how Jesus is almost a coach in this story. He's almost someone who's finding someone who is at literally the lowest, and he demonstrates how to encourage them, how to motivate them as a coach would do. And so we're just gonna go through verse by verse, different verses that really just point out his characteristics and how we can model them as well in our own lives as well. So the first thing, right, I want us to just look at verse 12. And the Lord appeared to him and said to him, the Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor. The first part, the first thing that Jesus does is he meets Gideon at his worst moment, at his most fearful moment. It's a moment where he is in hiding. He is not in a space of joy. He's in a space of fear. He's in a space of risk of his life. Because any sign of the Midianites and he's done. And it's so beautiful how Jesus appears to him at this moment more than any other else. And then the second thing was how he addresses him. He says, the Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor. The first part is powerful in itself. The Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. Because that when I link it to being a coach, as a coach, one of the reasons why a lot of coaches fail, from my perspective, is that they lose touch with their locker room. They lose touch with the group of men or women who they are leading. So when Jesus says the Lord is with you, and in this moment, it's kind of like a way of highlighting. It's a sense of peace. He's calling him to a sense of comfort that you are not alone. We're still in this together. We're still here. In this time when you're afraid, it's not when times are good that you're here. It's when things are grimy, when it's literally life or death, that I'm here with you. The Lord is with you. And that is a powerful thing when the Lord says that to any of us in our worst moments. The Lord, and he always says that the Lord is with you. And the second part, Almighty man of valor. Almighty man of valor. In other versions says a great and mighty man. So there's so many different ways that it can be spread, but it's just like, it's this kind of like respect. It's this kind of like how Jesus approaches, like he's kind of like picking him up. He's kind of like, and one thing especially is his identity. He's targeting his identity. Remember, he's in a place of fear. That's what's controlling his identity in this moment. He's in a place where he is afraid of everything. And so when he says, "Oh, great and mighty man of valor," in his worst moment, he's encouraging him. It's a space of like, I feel so it's a place where God has an identity for us, and it's only and one that only he can give. And regardless of the circumstances, regardless of where he finds us, that never changes. Despite Gideon being in a place of fear, he's still a man of valor, because that's how Jesus views him. And so when Jesus introduces himself like that, there's so much power that can be obtained in those two verses, because he's not only targeting the relationship part, but also the internal part as well. And I think those are the two places where, as a coach, you are navigating between, because you don't want someone to just be dependent on you. As a coach, you just can't be you can't be the person that these guys look up to. Imagine if it's like if a football player only had confidence when this particular person is with him, but when he's on the pitch, he's alone. So what happens? You have to call him great and mighty man of what? Oh, mighty man of valor. So when he's on that pitch alone, he knows what time it is. He knows who I am. I'm a mighty man of valor. And I love that Jesus like portrays that in such a beautiful way. Because these are literally like these are principles that we still use today, and how he still encourages us today in our identity in him, but also in how we view ourselves. And I love that. I love that so much. And then the next part, verse 13. And Gideon said to him, "Please, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonderful deeds that our fathers recounted to us, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and given us into the hand of Midian." Tough. Because Gideon has heard all of that. Has heard the Lord is with you. Oh, mighty man of valor. He said, "Nah, what are you saying, bro, when this is my reality right now? When, yes, what you're saying now does not translate to what's happening in my life, in how I feel about myself, and in what's happening in my reality." So when he's in this space where he's like, he's honest, but what happened to the stories where our fathers accounted for, when I told us about the Lord bring us up from Egypt? How can you say that he's with us when this is what's happening? And I love the Lord because of the patience, and I think that's one of the other things that one of the great characteristics as a coach that Jesus has shown in this part, in allowing Gideon to share and to exhort, I would say, where sometimes you just have to listen. You can't discount his experiences. Jesus wasn't immediately like, nah. Bro, what? I literally like, how ungrateful are you? He wasn't immediately defensive. He wasn't immediately like, "Oh no, what do you mean? What do you mean?" He didn't stop him. And that's one of the cool things, because this is one of the longest parts actually. 13 is one of the longest parts, and the part which literally is an accusation against God is the longest part. And I think that's so interesting because Jesus listened. He stood there. He allowed him to get it off. And that just shows, because sometimes you need to, as a coach, you need to listen. You won't have the full understanding of each and every person on your team when you can come with all of these nice words, but when you're down 10, or when you're down 3, or when you're down, literally none of that counts. And you need to give. And I think it's also beautiful because it's a chance to express, because we only understand what is eating at us when we are able to share. I think that Jesus allowed him to share because he also needed to understand where is Gideon coming from? Where is Gideon? Where are you right now? You are in a place where you are scared, you are afraid, you are thinking that God has forsaken you. And so I love that this is a space where Jesus allowed him to speak and to share. And I think that just highlights a lot of the compassion and the empathy that Jesus showed, right? And then we can move to verse 14, right? And the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in this might of yours and save Israel from the hand of Midian." Do I not send you? He listened. And what he did was, instead of trying to argue, instead of trying to defend himself, he gave him a task. Because as a coach, your goal is your players, as much as it is you are trying to build a relationship, it's about goals at the end of the day. The main point, when someone is motivated by a goal, when someone is motivated by something that they can look forward to, or they can prepare for, that literally allows them to look beyond themselves, right? When he says, and the Lord turned to him and said, go in this might of yours and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Do I not send you? Do I not send you? He's calling him to a place where he has to leave. He has to either choose to cower down or to stand up. So sometimes, and I think that's one of the most things, because the verse previously was coming from an emotional place, and in this place where Jesus came from is from a place of, what is the word, of neutrality. He wasn't angry, he wasn't sad, he simply stated the plan. And I love how he allowed, I was about to say his player, I love how he allowed Gideon to be emotional, because as a coach you have to be cool. You have to be the guy who's in the room, who is like, I'm not going to react to this, I'm not going to allow this, because as much as Gideon is saying all of this against God, he's also watching his emotions. He's also watching how is he going to react, and how he reacted is going to influence how his next move. If Jesus came up and was like, but, then it was going to be like, it's over. But how he attacked it, he very simply turned out to him and gave him a goal. He knew that his place, and that's emotional awareness. Being able to read what is happening, being able to, and you only do that by being able to have a relationship with someone, to understand their emotions, where they are coming from, what's happening. And I think that this is so beautiful how Jesus, these two verses, like, you need to allow your players to be emotional, but you can't be emotional. And I love that so much. I really love how Jesus like just operated in this like system over here. So giving him that verse, right? Okay, verse 15. Going to go to verse 15. And it says, and he said to him, please, Lord, how can I save Israel? Behold, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And this verse is interesting because now we're getting to the gritty, the inner gritties of what's going on. What is really going on with Gideon now? It wasn't a question of not believing that God could save them, or God could protect them. It's at the core of it. It was a question of identity. It was a question of how I view myself. I am the least in the house of Manasseh. I'm the weakest in my clan. Now we're getting to the point where it's like, oh, okay, it's not a God problem. It's a me problem. It means I'm insecure, basically. And when he said this, it's just another, and I love it, and it's very important because he knew Jesus was able to understand that the issue that he brought up before was not something that he was actually dealing with, but this issue of his identity was at the core of everything. When he told him, you are going to go, when he pointed him out, when he separated him from, and I love what he did before, when Gideon was speaking, he spoke in a way of Israel, of everyone. Where are these people? Where to save us? But no, when I asked you to go, that's when the insecurities came up. And that is a beautiful way that God is able to work, because he was able to understand what he wanted to get to the core of this character, this guy right here. I want to understand why are you not going? What is the reason why you are not able to do this thing that I have told you to? And when he said I'm the weakest, when he said that I'm the least, this was now, God was able to work. God was able to work in this case. And and I think that one of the biggest things that also when what is revealed here is an issue of mindset. As a coach, you are working with mindsets. Mindsets is literally how you operate. It's how your actions and behaviors, and also how you will respond to things. And when Gideon revealed that is he was coming from his place of insecurity and worry about where he views himself, that's at the core of what's happening here. That's at the core of the difference from him saving his people and him hiding. It's his mindset. There's a part of him, I'm sure, believed that he was a man of valor. There was a part of him that believed that the Lord was with us. And when the Lord confirmed that, but the issue and what was stopping him was his insecurities. And I think that one of the biggest challenges that especially I would say people in sports face, because they have a very interesting job, and I think even life in general, is that why we hold ourselves back, why we stop ourselves from doing certain things, is because of our mindset, because of what we believe about ourselves. Because internally we're not struggling. What the reason that we usually say is not necessarily the reason that is stopping us from doing it, but it's more of a me problem. There's something inside of me that I'm unfortunately dealing with, an insecurity that is making me not to do this. That's making me not to focus on this. And I love that this is such a beautiful moment. This is such a beautiful moment for Jesus to be there in this moment of Gideon being able to reveal this to him. And then I want to see how Jesus responds, right? It's verse 16. And the Lord said to him, but I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man. That's the answer. That's literally the answer to everything. That's literally, if you've ever thought about achieving your wildest dreams, if you've ever felt held back, if you've ever dealt with any insecurities, that's the answer. The Lord is with you. I will go with you. What does he say? I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man. And I love that. I love that. I will be with you and will strike the Midianites in one man. And there's so many different parts, because it's the first part was about I will be with you. And now it's not necessarily in the context of now, but it's now in the context of the goal. And that looks different for each of us. That looks different for each player. In basketball, if I'm a shooting guard, I have to shoot 5 threes a game. If I'm a center, I have to block 3 shots at least in a game. I have to play crazy defense, right? And it's like for each of us, for a coach, you have to understand that as much as we are in a collective system, we have to make sure that each and every part of our body is working well. It's one body. Wow, that's actually very interesting. Well, as a team, you are one body. You can't say you have different players, you have different set of responsibilities and roles, and you need each and every person to be in a space where they are churning, they are achieving their own goals within the collective goal. And so I think that's very beautiful how Jesus was able to kind of reflect that as well in this case, by being able to show us how to encourage people, how to motivate people. And I think that as a coach in this context, he killed it. I think he models what it means to be a coach. I think Jesus just models simply what it means to be a coach. And man, truly so cool. And then one more thing. And the one more thing I want to add is what he says. The second part, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man. You shall strike the Midianites as one man. And when Jesus said this, I think it's very interesting, because he made the goal something which is above his capabilities alone. He cannot do it alone. And as a coach, you need to make sure that you are, and especially in a team context, your goal has to be something that cannot be achieved on its own. When a team is striving for a Super Bowl, when a team is striving for NBA championship, you can't win it alone. Jason Tatum can't go out there and score 40 points. He can, but he can't score 40 points alone. He needs Sam Hauser to come in and shoot 5 threes. He needs Jaylen Brown to come and cook some guy for 2 minutes at least while he's resting. You need all of these different things. And I think that's very important why in this case he made the goal to strike the Midian stand as one man, because it needs him to grow. He can't do it on his own, but it also needs him to transform his mindset. And so he has to move away from thinking that he is the least. He has to move away from thinking that he's the weakest. because now when God has given him this goal, God has given him a confidence. And as coach, you need to inspire you need to be able to bring up confidence in your players. He gave him a confidence, he gave him a trust that I'm going to be with you. When we're going to battle, I'm with you. We're on the same side. And you'll be able to achieve this great and massive goal, this goal that no one thinks is possible because I am with you. And I think that's very beautiful. And I love that Coach Jesus has just, man, killed it. So that is a wrap, a cameo for my knees as well. That is a wrap for, what is it? The Casual Collective. It's an episode, but I've had a lot of episodes on this channel. But for this new series, that's a first episode. I hope that you've been able to learn. I hope that has been interesting. I hope that we can learn lessons. I think we're all coaches in whatever way or aspect of life that we are in. And I love that Jesus is always able to model those different things. And yeah, shout out to Jesus, man. Shout out to Jesus. Sorry. Shout out to him. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this, I hate saying that. If you like this video, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. I hate that. Anyways, have an amazing day, night, morning, and yeah, man, thank you so much. Appreciate you. I feel connected to you. By the grace of God, we're one body, so I'm connected. Okay, I'm dragging. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.